He lived like a poem. He died like a secret. The mysterious end of Menglong's beautiful sadness. He lived like a whisper, soft yet unforgettable. Each smile, each glance, each quiet song carrying the grace of a man who seemed to belong to another world. Menglong was not just an actor or a singer. He was a poem written in motion, a dream that flickered across screens and hearts alike. But as the lights shone brighter on him, the shadows around him grew longer, until one day he disappeared into them, silently, mysteriously, heartbreakingly, leaving behind a haunting emptiness that no one can quite describe. His death was not loud. It did not come with drama or scandal, just an aching quiet that spread like smoke across the internet. One moment, fans were replaying his performances, posting old clips from Eternal Love, and all out of love, reminiscing about the tenderness he brought to every role. The next moment, his name trended for the wrong reason. Menglong was gone. And just like that, the man who had made everyone else feel seen had vanished, without a goodbye, without an explanation, like a poem that ends mid-sentence. In the days that followed, the world tried to piece together what had gone wrong. The official words were simple, sterile, emotionless, but those who knew him, or thought they did, felt something deeper, something unspoken. Behind the cameras and the smiles, there was a sadness that had lived in his eyes for years. You could see it if you looked closely, the kind of sadness that doesn't ask for help because it doesn't believe it deserves any. The kind that smiles to make others comfortable, even when drowning. Menglong had always been known for his gentleness. He wasn't loud, he wasn't flamboyant. His fame was quiet, built on sincerity and patience. He wasn't the kind of star who demanded attention. He earned it with stillness. That stillness made him different, but it also made him fragile. People called him the softest soul in a hard world. And maybe that's what he really was. A delicate thread stretched too far in a place that often forgets how to hold softness. Friends once said that you often stayed up late, lost in thought, writing down lines that sounded like lyrics or letters never sent. He would hum to himself, eyes half lost in the night. Some of those close to him said he often spoke about time slipping away too quickly, or how the world moves too fast for hearts like mine. Those words sound poetic now, but maybe they were confessions we didn't hear in time. His life was full of people, yet his heart was always somewhere far away, searching, waiting, trying to make sense of a world that demanded perfection from someone who only wanted peace. There were rumors of heartbreak, someone he loved but could not be with, someone who saw the real him but had to let go. In one interview, when asked if he believed in forever, he had smiled faintly and said, "Some people are not meant to stay, only to teach us how to love." No one thought much of it then, but now, that sentence feels like a farewell wrapped in poetry. The kind of line only a man who already knew the ending could say. He was a man who carried silence beautifully. Even his performances had a kind of restraint to them, a quietness that felt intimate. He didn't act. He lived through the characters. Fans often said that when Menglong cried on screen, it never looked like acting. It looked like remembering. And maybe it was. Maybe each tear was a memory, a wound reopened. Maybe every smile he gave on camera was one he couldn't give himself off it. Fame has a strange way of distorting reality. To the world, Menglong was adored, successful, living a dream life. But fame is not love. It's applause that fades when the lights go off. It's millions of eyes watching, but not seeing. He was followed by crowds, yet he walked alone. He was loved by millions, yet understood by none. Behind every flawless photo shoot was exhaustion. Behind every fan meet, a man quietly fighting battles no one could name. Those who saw him in his final weeks described him as gentle as always, but quieter. There was a softness in his eyes, a kind of surrender. He smiled, but the smile no longer reached the light in his face. He began to avoid public events, canceled a few interviews, and reportedly spent more time alone in his home. One friend mentioned that you had grown distant, not cold, just far away, as though his mind was already walking somewhere his body hadn't followed yet. He looked like a man saying goodbye to things no one else could see, the friend said. And then the silence. News of his death hit like winter wind, cold, sharp, unbelievable. No official reason was immediately given. Only words like private matter, unexpected, tragic. Fans refused to believe it. How could someone who looked like a living poem just end like that? How could someone so gentle be gone without a word? The internet filled with his pictures, his serene smile, his quiet gaze, his timeless elegance. He was too soft for this world, one fan wrote. Another wrote, he healed us, but who healed him? In truth, no one may ever know what happened in those final hours. Whether it was a choice, an accident, or something deeper buried in his heart, Menglong left behind more questions than answers. And maybe that's how he wanted it. Maybe mystery was his final masterpiece, the last verse of a poem he had been writing all along. There's something haunting about how he lived. He never chased fame, it found him. He never shouted for attention. The world leaned in to hear his whisper. Even in death, he didn't demand sympathy or spectacle, only silence. He left like a secret, softly, beautifully, the way he had always existed. Perhaps he understood something the rest of US don't, that beauty isn't meant to last forever, and that sometimes the purest souls can only stay for a short while before the weight of the world becomes too heavy. His apartment, according to reports, was filled with books, handwritten notes, and sketches. Some say there were unfinished lyrics on his desk, fragments of something that could have been his next song. One read, "The stars are kind, they listen when no one else does." Another, "Maybe I was never meant to be saved, only remembered." These words, simple but heavy, now feel like his parting gift, his final melody to those who loved him. Fans across the world began lighting candles, sharing his songs, replaying his dramas with trembling hearts. Tributes poured in, artists, co-stars, directors, all speaking of his kindness, his humility, his quiet brilliance. One director described him as the kind of actor who made silence speak louder than words. Another said, "You never noticed him entering a room, but you always noticed when he left." It's a sentence that feels truer now than ever. Menglong's story will not fade quickly. It will linger in the hearts of those who felt seen through his art. He was never the loudest, never the most controversial, never the one chasing headlines. Yet he became unforgettable, precisely because he didn't try to be. He gave the world a kind of love that was simple, fragile, honest. And in return, the world adored him. Perhaps too late, perhaps not enough. His death is not just a loss, it's a mirror, a reminder of how many people smile through storms, how many gentle souls disappear quietly because they don't know how to ask for help. It's a call for empathy, for slowing down, for listening when someone's voice starts fading. The night before the world learned of his passing, the city lights outside his window flickered like dying candles. Inside his quiet apartment, the man everyone admired sat alone, surrounded by unfinished notebooks, coffee cups gone cold, and the faint hum of a song he never released. His phone vibrated once, twice, and then fell silent. He didn't reply. No one knew it then, but that silence would become eternal. Menglong had always lived between light and shadow. On stage, he glowed, his gentle expressions melting into the roles he played, his eyes speaking in ways words could never capture. But once the cameras stopped rolling, the glow dimmed. He often said that fame felt like performing in a glass box. Everyone could see him, yet no one could touch him. He was visible but unreachable, loved yet utterly alone. There's something haunting about the way he used to look at people during interviews, directly, softly, as if searching for an answer that the world could not give. When asked about his happiness, he always paused before replying. "I'm content," he'd say with a faint smile. But that pause spoke louder than any word could. It was a moment that told the truth, the quiet ache behind the calm. Those close to him described his apartment as a space of contradictions, elegant yet lonely. A piano sat near the window, covered in dust. Sketches lined the walls, portraits of faces no one recognized. A candle that had burned halfway down rested beside a photo frame turned face down. To strangers, it might have looked like a simple home, but to those who knew him, it was a reflection of his soul, a beautiful chaos hidden beneath stillness. In the weeks before his death, he reportedly took long walks alone through the city's quieter streets. He wore a mask, a cap, and headphones, disappearing into crowds unnoticed. People saw him, but they didn't see him. One barista remembered him sitting at a corner table late at night, writing on napkins while soft rain tapped against the glass. He always ordered green tea. He never stayed long. Sometimes he smiled at the rain as if it was telling him something only he could understand. What was he thinking during those quiet nights? Was he remembering someone, regretting something, or simply trying to find the version of himself that fame had stolen? No one knows. But if you read between the lines of his old lyrics, there's a story there, a man chasing meaning in a world that often rewards masks more than honesty. "I keep smiling," he once wrote, "because it hurts less when people believe it." Fans now listen to those lyrics differently. His songs, once romantic and light, now feel like confessions. Every melody carries the weight of someone who is trying to hold himself together while giving everything to others. In one unreleased demo found by a producer friend, Yu's voice cracks midway through a verse. "I tried to be the sun, but I was only the shadow." The recording fades abruptly, just as he did. Those who worked with him recall how gentle he was, even when exhausted. On set, he often comforted staff, offering snacks and smiles when everyone else was tense. He was the kind of person who apologized for things that weren't his fault, one director said. "It's rare to meet someone so soft in this industry. Maybe too soft." That gentleness was his greatest gift, and perhaps his greatest curse. Rumors spread quietly about a love he couldn't keep, a woman whose name was never spoken publicly, someone who had once been his light. She reportedly moved abroad years ago, and those close to you said he never truly moved on. He believed in quiet love, a friend revealed, the kind that doesn't need to be shown. But quiet love can also become lonely love. In one of his notebooks, a line reads, "She taught me silence, and now silence is all I have left." As the months went by, his social media became more distant. Posts grew shorter, captions vaguer. Pictures became softer, filtered in gray tones. His fans noticed, but they mistook it for artistry. "He's just evolving," they said. But in reality, he was fading. Behind every poetic caption was a cry wrapped in beauty. Behind every smile, a shadow deepened. One night, he posted a photo of the ocean. The caption read, "The sea doesn't ask where you've been. It just listens." It was liked hundreds of thousands of times. No one realized it was his goodbye. After his death, that photo became a digital shrine. Fans filled the comments with heartbreak, long messages, poems, confessions of how his work had healed them. "He saved me," one wrote. "If only we could have saved him." Another wrote, "He taught us to love quietly, but the world was too loud." It's hard to comprehend how someone who gave so much beauty could live with so much pain. Maybe that's the price of being a soul too deep for a shallow world. Menglong didn't just play characters, he absorbed them. Every heartbreak he portrayed, he felt. Every loss he acted, he lived. And in giving the world stories that touched their hearts, he emptied his own. His last days were described as peaceful but heavy. He spoke less, smiled less, but thanked everyone more. "You've done enough," he told a close friend during their final conversation. At the time, the friend thought he meant his career. Now they realize he was saying goodbye. After he was gone, fans gathered outside his agency with flowers and candles. Some played his songs softly through their phones. Others stood in silence. The air was thick with grief, but also with a strange sense of calm, as if the universe itself had paused to remember him. The rain that night fell gently like tears from the sky. Perhaps that's how he wanted to be remembered, not as a star, but as a feeling, a fleeting emotion that lingers long after it's gone. He was the warmth that stays after a song ends, the echo that hums in the heart. And so his story becomes legend, not because of how he lived, but because of how deeply he made others feel. Menglong didn't need grand gestures or dramatic exits. His goodbye was soft, poetic, and devastatingly human. He lived quietly, loved silently, and left beautifully. Now, every time a fan replays one of his songs, every time his face appears in a scene, it feels like a piece of him returns for a moment, a whisper from a soul that once glowed so tenderly. He lived like a poem, each line crafted with care, each silence intentional. And he died like a secret, leaving behind a mystery the world will never solve, but will always feel. Because true beauty doesn't vanish. It lingers in the air, in memory, in the quiet ache of those who remember. Menglong's story will never truly end. It will continue in the hearts of those who saw themselves in his sadness, who found comfort in his softness, who learned that even the gentlest souls can leave the loudest echoes. He lived like a poem. He died like a secret. But somewhere beyond the noise, his soul still sings, softly, endlessly, beautifully.